My wife had an affair with my cousin and ended up having his child. For years, my family kept this hidden from me. And now, after all these years, they suddenly want back into my life, now that I've finally found some success. Before I dive into how I handled it, I need to lay everything out so you understand the full picture. There's a lot to unpack. I'm 44 now. Been married to my current wife for a decade, and we've been together for 13 years. She's 41, and we've built a comfortable life with our 8-year-old son. Things are good with us. But before this marriage, I had another one. I got married young, at 22. I thought I was doing everything right, but it ended in divorce just 3 years later, and to this day, I still don't fully understand why. My first wife, let's call her Rachel, had been in my life since middle school. We were young sweethearts. Grew up together, dated through high school, and got married soon after finishing college and landing decent jobs. The beginning of our marriage was solid. But out of nowhere, something changed. It felt like she just drifted away. I did what I could to bring us closer again, to fix things, but it was like she was already gone emotionally. Then, just a few weeks before what would have been our 3rd anniversary, she handed me divorce papers. Told me she was done. Just like that. I tried to talk to her, to work things out. I wasn't perfect, but I wanted to save what we had. Her only explanation was that she didn't love me anymore. That was it. After all the years we'd spent together, that was the only reason I got. It crushed me. But what could I do? I couldn't force her to stay. So I let her go. I didn't want to drag things out and make it more painful for either of us. Since we didn't own much together, the divorce was quick and clean. And then she vanished. Moved to a different town. Stopped responding to everything. People I knew told me she cut off contact with pretty much everyone. What hit even harder was that around that same time, my own family started shutting me out too. My parents. My sister. It was weird. When I needed them the most, they all pulled away. I kept trying to stay in touch, but one by one, they blocked me. I even tried showing up a few times, but they wouldn't answer the door. That whole time felt like I was living in a fog. I was already wrecked by the divorce, and now I had no family backing me either. I quit my job and spent a few months just drifting. Didn't have the energy to do much of anything. But luckily, I had good friends who didn't let me give up. They were there when nobody else was. They pushed me to find something to hold on to build a life again. And I did. Owning a restaurant had always been a dream of mine, but back when I was married to Rachel, I kept putting it off. I wanted to save more money, make sure we were both secure. But once she was out of the picture, I thought, why not go for it? So I did. Funny enough, I named the restaurant after something my parents had once suggested. It felt like holding on to a small part of something I had lost. My friends helped me pitch the idea to a few investors, and with their support, I got the place up and running. It took me about 4 years to really find my footing again. But I did it. And then, 2 years later, I met the woman I'm with now. We met at an event through mutual friends. She came up to me to say she loved my restaurant, and we just clicked. After dating for 3 years, I asked her to marry me. I figured I owed myself one more shot at real love. Now here we are, a decade later, raising our son and living a life I'm proud of. Business-wise, things took off. The restaurant did better than I ever expected. One location turned into a few more, and eventually, we expanded into hotels. Now I run a hospitality company with a string of successful places across the state. And we're not done, we've got our sights set on going national. It's been a grind. I've worked like hell to get where I am. That's why, when I was invited to do a television interview about my journey, I said yes. It felt like a sign that I had finally made it. What I didn't expect was the fallout from that interview. Somehow, my family saw it. I didn't think they would, honestly, it aired on a pretty big channel, but still. I never imagined they'd show up at my business like that. But that's exactly what they did, just 3 days ago. Out of nowhere, they showed up at my office, wanting to talk. After all these years of silence. It was strange. Unsettling, even. When they showed up, the receptionist let me know there were some family members waiting to see me. At first, I figured maybe my wife had come by with our son, which didn't make much sense because our boy was at school and she was supposed to be at work. Then the receptionist said it was my sister and my parents. I just kind of froze. I didn't know what to make of it. I told her to ask them to leave, that I'd deal with it later. But of course, they refused to go quietly. They were causing a bit of a scene, and I didn't want to escalate things by having security throw them out. So I went out to the lobby to deal with it myself. As soon as I walked in, they acted like nothing had changed, as if we'd just seen each other last week instead of not speaking for over 20 years. They were all smiles, telling me how proud they were, how amazing it was that I'd built something big enough to get noticed on television. They said my story was inspiring, and that as my family, they should have been part of it. It was surreal hearing that. Like, really? Now you want to be part of the story? They started talking about seeing the interview, how they'd recognized the photos that were shown on screen, pictures of me, my wife, and our son. I mentioned my family in the interview, especially how supportive my wife and kid had been through the years. And now here they were, acting like that gave them a ticket back into my life. They said they wanted to meet my wife, wanted to meet their grandson, like they were just catching up on lost time. That's when things took a weird turn. They began blaming me. Said I had not tried hard enough to reach out after the divorce, like it was on me that we hadn't spoken in 2 decades. And for the first time in a long time, I thought, maybe I'll finally find out what the hell actually happened back then. So I stayed. I didn't tell them to leave. I sat down right there in the lobby and let them talk. And man, what they told me hit like a truck. Turns out, my first wife, Rachel, had been cheating on me. And not just with some random guy. No. She was having an affair with my cousin. You heard that right, my cousin. The son of my dad's older brother. I had never suspected it. Never had a clue. And the reason why? My parents had known all along and helped her cover it up. They said they had their reasons. Claimed they thought they were doing the right thing at the time. But their idea of right was letting Rachel lie and cheat while I walked around completely in the dark. My cousin, let's call him Derek, was always a jerk. Arrogant, spoiled, full of himself. I never liked him. But his mom passed away when he was just a baby, and ever since, the family treated him like some fragile treasure. He could do no wrong. No one ever corrected him, no matter how out of line he was. And then there's my uncle, Derek's father. He started the family business long before my dad joined it, and he always held that over everyone. He was also my dad's boss. So when Derek decided he wanted to be with Rachel, even after she was already married to me, my family backed him. Rachel went along with it, and they all made their choice. They chose him. They didn't want to risk upsetting my uncle, so instead of telling me the truth, they cut me out. Just like that. My uncle made it clear that if anyone in the family wanted to have a relationship with Rachel, or with the child she was having, they had to completely cut ties with me. And here's the thing, I did not even know she was pregnant. When she handed me those divorce papers, she didn't say a word about it. She had already moved out before we split legally, and she wasn't showing. So I had no idea. No clue I was about to be a dad. And because they all kept it from me, I never met my own daughter. She's almost 20 now. From what they told me, she grew up thinking Derek was her real father. She does not even know I exist. Hearing all this was like stepping into someone else's life. I sat there, listening, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. I honestly had to pinch myself. It didn't feel real. But it was. They convinced themselves that keeping me in the dark was better. Safer. That cutting me off completely was the right move to protect their place in the family business. To stay on good terms with my uncle. They let fear run the show. They let me get kicked out of my own life. They betrayed me just to stay comfortable. And instead of telling me the truth like decent human beings, they buried it for decades. All for Derek, the same guy they never held accountable for anything in his life. They treated him like gold. And me? Like I was disposable. My father could have stepped in. He could have taken legal action, spoken up, done something. But he didn't. To this day, I still can't wrap my head around why no one ever told me Rachel was pregnant. Why no one thought I deserved to know I had a child. They kept this secret for 2 full decades. Not a word. Not until they saw me on TV, realized I'd made something of myself, and suddenly felt like maybe it was time to reconnect. To make things right, as they put it. But I saw through it. It was all an act. Once they finished unloading their story, I looked them in the eye and told them they needed to leave. I wasn't ready to forgive any of them, not after what I had just learned. I had no interest in pretending we were some big happy family in that moment. We were sitting in the lobby of my own workplace, and I didn't want to cause a scene, so I kept my tone calm. But I couldn't say the same for them. As soon as I asked them to go, the guilt-tripping started. They tried spinning it around, asking me to think about what it had been like for them, how difficult it was for them to keep the secret, like I should feel sorry for their silence. That was it for me. I called them out. Told them straight up, I know you're only here now because I've got money, because I'm doing well, and you want in. Of course, they denied it. My sister even had the nerve to say the only reason I'd gotten where I am was because they helped me, because the restaurant name had been their idea way back when I was still dreaming about it. Can you believe that? They vanished for 20 years, never lifted a finger to help, and now they wanted credit because they once tossed out a name during a casual chat. I laughed right in her face. Not out of amusement, out of disbelief. I told them if they didn't leave, I'd have security escort them out. They pushed back. Said we needed to talk this through and work things out. But I was done talking. So I kept my word and called security. And just like that, they were escorted out of the building. They looked angry. Hurt, even. But that was on them. As they were being walked out, they kept pleading that they had no choice back then. That they were forced into silence. But I don't buy it. They had a choice. They just made the wrong one. And now they're living with the consequences. They managed just fine without me for 2 decades, so I figure they'll manage another few decades without me too. That happened 3 days ago, and they still haven't let up. They stopped trying to get back inside my office, but they've been hanging around outside, sending emails to my work account, messaging me on social media. Their tones changed now. Every message is an apology. Every email dripping with regret. They linger near the parking lot sometimes, hoping I'll stop and talk. But I don't. I keep driving. Truth is, I almost feel bad for them. Almost. But when I think about what they did, what they let happen, I lose that sympathy real quick. My wife and I have been talking a lot since all this came out. The big question now isn't just about my parents or my sister, it's about my daughter. A daughter I never knew I had until a few days ago. We've gone back and forth about whether we should try to find her. Whether it's even the right thing to do. And meanwhile, my so-called family just keeps circling, hoping for another shot at a conversation. My wife thinks maybe we should just get it over with, invite them over, sit down like adults, and try to settle things. She thinks it could help clear the air, maybe even bring me some peace. She's worried about the stress this is putting on me. And I get it. I really do. But right now? I can't. I don't have the mental energy to face them again. Not after what they told me. Not with all this spinning around in my head. I just want them gone. I want silence. Peace. So for now, I'm doing nothing. Ignoring the messages. Blocking no one. Just letting them shout into the void. We're still struggling to figure out our next step. My wife and I talk about it every night. And yeah, sometimes I wonder, am I being too harsh? Am I wrong for not giving them another chance? Update. It's been a week and 3 days since all this began. My wife and I finally made a decision, we're going to keep ignoring them. At least for now. The good news is, they've stopped coming around the office the last few days. Maybe they gave up. Maybe they're scared of being escorted out again. Either way, I'm relieved. Things feel quieter now. I can think again. And you know what? I no longer feel guilty for staying silent. Their presence was eating at me. Making me second-guess myself. But since they've disappeared again, it's like a weight's been lifted. I'm not replying to their emails. I'm not answering their messages. And I don't feel bad about it. No amount of sorry will fix what they did. Nothing will change the fact that they failed me. As far as I'm concerned, they chose their path a long time ago. And if they want to keep messaging me from new accounts and fake profiles, fine. Let them. I'm still not answering. We'll see how long they keep this up. But right now, my focus has shifted to something even heavier, my daughter. Neither my wife nor I had a clue how to handle this part. My parents mentioned during that awful conversation where she goes to college, and from there, we had her full name. I haven't reached out to her directly yet, but my assistant managed to find her online profiles. The truth is, I've been stuck in my own head trying to figure out whether I even should reach out. And if I do, how do I tell someone that I'm their biological father? I mean, she's not a kid anymore. I can't just knock on Rachel's door and ask for custody or anything like that. It's not my place, and frankly, after everything I've learned about Rachel, I want nothing to do with her. I have zero respect left for that woman. Or my family. They all chose fear and lies over honesty. Cowards, every last one of them. But when it comes to my daughter, it's different. She didn't ask for any of this. She didn't make any of those choices. No matter who raised her, she's still my blood. Still my child. That's what's eating at me. That's the part one can't ignore. So I figured I'd put it out there, see if anyone had advice. Should I reach out? Is it even right for me to do that after all these years? I want to thank everyone who responded to my first post. Your support and suggestions meant a lot. Truly. Update 2. After talking it through and reading people's comments, my wife and I decided to stop hesitating. There was never going to be a perfect moment. We just had to do it. We agreed that showing up in person might be too much, especially since she lives in a different state, so we started with a message. We reached out to her through Instagram, explaining everything as gently and respectfully as we could. Now, we're just waiting. Hoping she'll respond. I can't even begin to describe how grateful I am to have a wife who's been so understanding through all this. She stood by me, even when it meant opening a door to a life neither of us expected. I know this brings up a lot of complicated emotions, for all of us. But I want this chance. I want to know my daughter. I hope she wants to know me, too. As for my parents, they've been quiet lately. No surprise visits. No phone calls. Just one long email yesterday, filled with apologies. They said they want to rebuild our relationship. Said they'd wait for me to reach out next time, not the other way around. Honestly, I felt a little relieved. Maybe they finally got the message. Maybe they finally realized that I'm not interested in dragging this drama any further. And I hope they keep that promise. If I ever feel ready to speak with them again, I'll do it on my terms. But right now, that day feels very far off. Learning the real reason they turned their backs on me for 20 years only made things worse. That betrayal doesn't fade overnight. But not everything about this has been painful. For the first time, I learned something about my daughter. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance to build something with her. I haven't told my son about her yet. I do not want to confuse him or set up hopes if this doesn't go the way I want it to. But if everything works out, maybe one day, he'll meet his sister. And maybe I'll finally meet the daughter I never knew I had. It's been overwhelming, emotionally, mentally, but I'm trying to hold it together. Update 3. It's been about 2 weeks since I messaged my daughter on social media. I told her everything, who I am, what happened, and what she means to me. And today, she finally wrote back. She said she had talked to her mom, Rachel, and learned the truth. That I really am her biological father. Of course, she was in shock. For 20 years, she believed Derek was her dad. That's the story she was raised on. She had no idea. But after Rachel finally came clean, my daughter told me she wants to meet me. And my family. She doesn't have the money to fly out here, and she's not speaking to her family right now, so we're flying out to see her this weekend. She didn't share too many details, but from what I understand, when she confronted Rachel, Rachel tried to deny everything at first. Eventually, though, she admitted the truth. I haven't heard from Rachel directly, and I hope it stays that way. I want no contact. I'm not interested in anything she has to say. I just want to meet my daughter and keep Rachel out of it. But of course, my family found out I'd contacted my daughter. And just like that, they broke their promise. They started trying to get in touch again. More emails. More messages. All that silence and patience they claimed to have went straight out the window the moment they realized I had reconnected with my child. Typical. Naturally, my uncle wasn't too happy when he found out the truth had reached me. And I can't say I'm surprised. He and the rest of them had spent 2 decades trying to bury it all, just to keep their lives tidy and undisturbed. Now that the truth's out, he's pointing fingers, mostly at my parents. From what I've heard, my dad is terrified of upsetting his older brother, even though he no longer works for him and has his own business now. That fear hasn't gone away. He's been begging me to make it clear to everyone that my uncle and cousin had nothing to do with me finding out. That it wasn't their fault. But here's the thing, I don't see the point. Who else could have kept this kind of secret, if not them? Even if I tried to defend them, I doubt anyone would buy it. And honestly, I'm past caring. Most of my extended family never bothered to be close with me. They dropped me without hesitation 20 years ago and didn't look back. Now they're scrambling to protect their ties to my uncle, like that's still the most important thing in the world. Meanwhile, I lost 20 years with my daughter. 20 years I can never get back. So no, I'm not rushing to protect their reputations. This is the least I can do. Update 4. Today, I finally met my daughter, with my wife and son by my side. At first, it was a little awkward. We were all nervous, unsure what to say. But then it turned into something really beautiful. It was emotional, it was real, and honestly, it was one of the best days I've had in a very long time. Even after being raised by 2 of the most dishonest people I've ever known, she turned out to be kind, thoughtful, and incredibly grounded. I don't know if it's just who she is at heart or if somehow they managed to raise her well despite everything, but she impressed me. She's smart. Mature. She handled all of this way better than I expected. We sat down and had a long talk about Rachel and Derek. She told me she doesn't care that they don't want her speaking to me. Now that she knows the truth, she's not afraid to make her own decisions. She said she's not planning to cut them out completely, after all, she's their only child, but she's going to distance herself while she sorts through all of it. And I get that. She also told me she'll need time to really build a connection with me. She's in a strange headspace right now. Everything she thought she knew has changed. She needs time to breathe and adjust. And I respect that completely. What made me happiest, though, was how naturally she clicked with my wife and her little brother. It felt like we were just a family. We had dinner together, shared some laughs, and for a moment, things felt almost normal. Over the meal, she shared something else that hit me hard. She had actually been in contact with my parents this whole time. They were her relatives on her grandfather's side, as she put it. She never understood why they were always so affectionate with her, so invested in her life. Now she knows. And now she sees them differently. Just like I do. I'm a lot older, so maybe I'm more used to being disappointed by the people you trust. But for her, at only 20, this has got to be overwhelming. Her whole world just shifted. I know it's going to take time for her to make peace with everything. But we'll get there. She and we're going to put in the work. I'm determined to build something good with her. Something honest. And after everything we've been through, today felt like a real beginning. A clean slate. It doesn't erase what Derek, Rachel, or my family did. That damage is still there. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like something meaningful came out of all this pain. And I'm thankful. We finally have the chance to start over. And I'm not going to waste it. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you or made you feel something, I hope you'll stick around. Subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with more true stories, raw, personal, and sometimes shocking, just like this one.